Hi everyone, today we're taking a look at something a little bit different. This is the GoPro Hero 3 Black Edition. Now, the idea behind the GoPro is to create a very small wearable camera which has high frame rates, so you can do slow motion footage, but also high resolution as well. So you can either have a very high resolution image, so up to 4K at 15 frames a second, 2.7K at 30 frames a second, or just good old fashioned 1080p at 60 frames a second, and also 720p 120 frames a second. All of these are obviously just numbers, but what you actually get is a very versatile and small video camera system. Now, the whole idea behind GoPro is it's meant to be a wearable camera, so it's perfect for action cam people, it's perfect for photojournalists and video journalists, and really for anyone who's looking to get their hands free whilst they're filming. So for instance, with this particular unit, it comes with a waterproof casing, and the camera then sits inside the casing. Now, it's waterproof and dustproof, and it's waterproof down to around 140 feet, I believe, which makes it perfect for things like scuba diving, and even for some of those deeper dives if you're so inclined. Now, personally, I'm using the camera from a photojournalism point of view, so for me, it's a case of getting the camera onto my body somewhere, and just letting it roll and capturing, what's going on around me. One of the main problems I have is keeping my hands free at all times. When I'm using a traditional video camera, I tend to have one hand being tied up at all times, and it's not always the safest thing when I'm out videoing. With the Hero 3, I can strap the camera to my body, start shooting, and then still have my hands free for, not falling over. All of this, combined with its waterproof and dustproof resistance, the incredibly high frame rates and resolution that the GoPro provides, make it a fantastic video camera for the price. As you're going to see from some of the footage coming up later in this review, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's up there with some of the very best camcorders, as it were, and digital camcorders that are available. At times the footage is approaching the quality that my DSLR can produce, but all in a very small package and with a much wider range of frame rates. So with the GoPro Hero 3, you place the camera into its waterproof casing, lock it tight, and no moisture or anything can get through. I've used this outside in the rain and found that whilst I got absolutely drenched, the camera was still absolutely fine. Now, with the Black Edition, it comes with Wi-Fi built in. Now, this is useful because it has a Wi-Fi remote that can allow you to change all of the settings directly from a remote or from an Android app. And it means you don't have to go fiddling around with the buttons or potentially taking the camera out of the casing to make things easier or quicker. Everything can be done from a small Wi-Fi remote or an Android app. Now, you can see that the battery in the GoPro 3, it's actually quite small, and you'll get around about 35 to 45 minutes out of the battery. Now, some of the reviews have said you get around an hour, hour and a half out of a battery. Not in my experience, I'm afraid. And a lot of it does come down to the resolution you're shooting at, as well as the frame rate. The harder you work the camera, the more the battery is going to drain. But additional batteries aren't too expensive. They run to around £20–25. You can also buy an extended battery pack which goes onto the back of the camera that can more than triple the battery life as well. It uses micro USB to charge, so quick and easy to charge, and you've all got plenty of micro USB cables and USB hubs floating around. And that's the wireless remote. Works very easily, can drop onto a keychain or even attach to your belt, and it allows full control of the Hero 3, including changing settings. So here's some stock footage, as it were, that I shot using the GoPro 3 whilst I was on holiday. As you can see, the colour reproduction is absolutely fantastic. Whites are white, blues are blue, and that is most definitely a swimming pool. Even when you are walking around with the GoPro 3, when you're working at such a high frame rate, you can create quite smooth motion when you come back into your editing suite. And as you can see, the quality and the amount of detail that the GoPro is picking up here from, a seascape, as it were, is absolutely fantastic. And here again is some footage of me just walking around at an event that was going on board the ship we were on whilst we were on holiday. And again, the detail that's picked up in the very back of the image is still sharp and well reproduced. And, we can even capture things like sunrise over Gibraltar at Europa Point. And the colour reproduction is just fantastic. I cannot get this across enough. It does such a wonderful job at really capturing the light that's coming in, the colours, and the sharpness of the image as well is really excellent. A lot of this footage was captured at 1080p 60, so 60 frames a second, and even when we come indoors, this is St Michael's Cave in Gibraltar, very, very, very dark. The camera has boosted the ISO quite considerably, and I've made just a few tweaks in post-production just to kind of help the colours come out a little bit. But overall, bearing in mind this was being shot in near total darkness, the only light is being given via some illumination points on the stone, but other than that the camera is having to do an awful lot of work here, and even in near total darkness was able to pick out really fantastic colour and wasn't too grainy. This is just your traditional street scene, as it were, again filmed in Gibraltar. But you can see that its ability to handle the white points really nicely, the colour graduations are spot on, and more importantly the motion as I'm walking along as well, running it at 60 frames, means that you get very smooth motion most of the time, even though the camera is effectively strapped to my body. More Gibraltar footage, and again, you can see the shadows are really well defined. It haven't been blown out in neither of the highlights too badly. I could have done a bit more work in post-production just to bring the highlights a little bit more into balance, as it were, but it didn't really feel like it was necessary. The quality of the footage was good enough straight away. One of the great things with the software that they provide with the camera, it's available as a free download from GoPro's website, is its ability to very quickly do tuning to your image. Now that effectively creates a series of looks. So you may have a pro tune look, you may have a warm summer's day look, a cool look, or you can come up with your own combination. And really this adjusts things like your exposure, contrast, saturation, and the sharpness of the image as well. One thing that I found great with GoPro is because it's quite a discreet camera, you can pop it on your body, go about your daily business as it were, and film the things going on around you, and for the most part people simply do not notice the camera. A couple of people came up to me and asked me if I was pretending to be Iron Man, blinking lights on the chest and all, but by and large it's a very discreet way to capture everything that's going on around you, and from a video journalism point of view that's exactly what we're looking for. We want people to be natural whilst we're filming. So coming back to the UK, I was really interested to see, well, how would GoPro cope with less than ideal light situations? And one of the things in the UK that we can guarantee is we have bursts of sunshine, lots of grey skies, and plenty of rain. So this was captured just on a couple of days after I came back. A fairly sunny day, but quite a cool temperature and cool light overall. And again, you can see whilst the sun was directly in front of me, and that's always going to be a problem for most lenses and optics, what you'll find is the colour reproduction, it was still fantastic. And again, even though I'm walking very quickly, it doesn't create a huge amount of shake running it at 60 frames a second. So coming back to the Hero Pro 3 itself, there's plenty of accessories you can get for GoPro. They've really done a great job with the whole aftermarket stuff. So for instance, spare batteries, LCD screens, because by default the GoPro doesn't have its own screen. You simply download the footage afterwards or watch it from your Android device. But you can, if you want, add an additional screen onto the back for those people that need to kind of have a bit of a look at their footage afterwards, or want a touch screen to be able to change the various controls. But really, from my perspective, if you've bought the Black Edition, you may as well use an iPhone or an Android app to really interact with the GoPro. It's much quicker, and obviously one of the main issues with having a screen running on the back of the device is you are going to be draining the battery even faster. Now, this is the chesty. The chesty is effectively a sling that goes onto your body, clips across the front, and you attach the GoPro to it. And this was basically my weapon of choice for filming. It allowed me to pop the chesty over my clothes, pop a coat on over the top if necessary, and then shoot as and when I felt like it. Or alternatively, I could just wear the strap quite happily around the ship whilst I was on holiday, and people weren't overly fazed by it. One of the great things is if you unclip it, you can then tuck the camera effectively under your arm, a little bit like a side sling. The GoPro comes with a range of accessories as well, including car mounts, cables, additional mounting position brackets, and all sorts of different things, as well as a complete pack of cables, which I haven't shown here. But overall, with the GoPro, we're running at about £270 off Amazon. You get a really great range of not only mounting points, but also accessories to help you get the best from the GoPro, and also the waterproof casing as well. If you're looking for the chesty sling, then that will set you back around £30, but it's well worth it and incredibly well made. And because of the tightness of it, it really keeps the camera bound to your body, so you don't get a lot of rattle or shake. This footage was actually shot at 720p, 120 frames a second, and then it's been downshifted to 30 frames a second for use on YouTube. But it creates very smooth motion, and more importantly, as you can see, this is even with a wide angle on there. When we've converted the footage back in post-production, we've got a very nice natural flat looking image, no nasty fisheye bulging going on. This footage was shot internally of the ship. Now, one of the main issues that you're dealing with there is obviously uneven lighting and rather unnatural lighting, specifically caused by the windows which have their coating. So the light that's actually coming through is being diffused to a blue. And, you know, that's always going to cause some issues to the camera. But what's interesting is as you see I'm walking through these various environments. The camera is adjusting very quickly. Its response rates are very, very good to changes in colour, white balance and so on, which makes it a very good and useful camera to use indoors. One thing that I haven't really seen done a lot with GoPro. So that's all. Do feel free to share this with your friends, let everyone know about the review, and also like and comment if there's anything you'd specifically like me to look at with the GoPro Hero 3 Black Edition.